The cold steel corridors of the abandoned Federation outpost echoed with the sound of boots, Rebel and Federation alike. Raj Blake led his small but determined group through the dimly lit halls, his eyes hard, his resolve unshakable. At his side was Kerr Avon, his sharp, calculating mind constantly at work, eyes scanning for traps, his dark expression betraying none of the storm brewing within. They were close now. After years of fighting, of losses and victories, of betrayal and hope, it all came down to this. The final confrontation with Servalan. She was here, along with her lieutenant, the ruthless Travis, and an army of mutoids, cybernetic soldiers, engineered for war, devoid of humanity. "We need to keep moving," Avon said, his voice low and impatient. "If we hesitate, she'll pick us off, one by one." Blake nodded, gripping his blaster tightly. He knew Avon was right. They had come too far, fought too hard to fall now. Suddenly the lights flickered, casting the outpost in eerie, intermittent darkness. From the shadows, a mechanical voice spoke. "Blake." It was Travis. "I've been waiting for this," Blake muttered, his voice filled with an almost animalistic fury. The group rounded a corner and came to a halt. Travis stood at the far end of the hall, flanked by mutoids in gleaming armor. His robotic arm gleamed under the dim lights, and the scarred side of his face twisted into a sneer. "Blake," Travis said again, his voice cold, metallic. "You're alive. How fitting that you've led your people to their deaths." "Not today, Travis," Blake shot back. "You're in our way. Move or die." Without warning, a barrage of laser fire erupted from the mutoids. The rebels dove for cover, returning fire with deadly precision. Avon, with a cold calmness, took aim and downed two mutoids in quick succession, their bodies collapsing in a shower of sparks. Travis charged forward, his blaster arm whirring to life, targeting Blake. But a rebel soldier flung a stun grenade down the hall, the explosion sending a shockwave that knocked Travis off balance. "Blake!" Avon shouted. "Now!" Seizing the moment, Blake sprinted toward Travis, firing shot after shot, forcing him into retreat. Avon covered him, picking off mutoids with ruthless efficiency, his mind already calculating the odds of survival, the exits, the fallback points. But he knew it wouldn't matter. This was all or nothing. "Blake!" Travis roared, regaining his balance, his mechanical arm powering up for a deadly, final blast. But before Travis could fire, a sudden energy surge shot through the hall, cutting off the battle in a heartbeat. The walls shimmered as a massive force field activated, separating the rebels from Travis and the remaining mutoids. The shadows shifted, and from behind, Travis emerged Servalan. Clad in her pristine white outfit, the former Supreme Commander of the Terran Federation smiled with chilling elegance and shock at seeing Raj Blake alive. Her voice was smooth, deadly. "Blake, Avon, I get to put an end to you both. Did you really think it would end any other way?" Blake's fists clenched. "It's not over yet, Servalan, isn't it?" She replied, her voice dripping with venomous satisfaction. "You've been fighting a war you've already lost. The Federation is eternal, and now you will die one more time, here in the dark, forgotten by history." Avon stepped forward, his voice as cold as the void. "Not if we kill you first." Servalan's eyes flicked to Avon, her smile widening. "You think you can kill me, Avon? You've always wanted to, haven't you? All these years." Blake raised his blaster, but before he could fire, the force field crackled, shifting into a deadly energy barrier. One wrong move and they'd be vaporized. Avon, ever quick on the uptake, pulled out a small device, his last trump card. "Don't be so sure," Avon said. tapping a button. The lights flickered again, and suddenly, the power in the outpost surged wildly. Sparks flew from the walls as the systems overloaded. "Now!" Avon shouted. The force field wavered for a moment, just enough. Blake and the rebels unleashed a final volley, their shots ripping through the remaining mutoids. Travis, still reeling from the earlier explosion, staggered forward, his blaster arm charging. But Blake's shot hit him square in the chest. Travis crumpled to the floor, his face contorted in shock. His last breath was a gurgle of disbelief. Blake didn't hesitate. He aimed again and finished it. Servalan's calm composure shattered for a moment. "No," she hissed. "You think you've won, but this changes nothing." Blake leveled his blaster at her, but Servalan raised her hand, revealing a remote detonator. "If I die, so does everyone in this outpost. You won't get the chance," Blake growled, stepping forward. But Avon's hand shot out, stopping him. "No, Blake," he said quietly. "She's lying. She won't blow up the outpost with herself inside it." Servalan's eyes met Avon's, and for a second, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. "You're betting our lives on that?" Blake asked, his voice tense. Avon's lips curled into a faint, dangerous smile. "Yes." With lightning speed, Avon pulled his gun and fired. The shot hit the detonator, sending it flying out of Servalan's hand, skidding across the floor. Servalan's face twisted in fury. "You..." Avon fired again, this time aiming for the control panel behind her. The outpost shuddered as systems failed, lights blinking out one by one. The sound of explosions rumbled in the distance. Blake and Avon moved as one, grabbing Servalan before she could escape. The ground beneath them shook violently as the facility began to collapse. "It's over, Servalan," Blake said, his voice hard, as rubble began to fall around them. "The Federation will fall." Servalan's eyes glinted with malice. "You're a fool, Blake. The Federation will rise again. You can't kill an idea." Blake's grip tightened. "But we can destroy the people behind it." Together, Blake and Avon dragged Servalan through the collapsing outpost, the walls closing in, the air filled with the sound of explosions. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The rebels made it outside just as the building behind them imploded, sending a shockwave of dust and debris into the air. Blake looked at Avon, both men breathing heavily, exhausted but alive. "It's not over," Blake said. "It never is," Avon replied, his expression unreadable. And somewhere, in the distance, the Federation's shadow loomed.